Hi, moms. I am so happy that you are here. Let's get started. So, like I've always talked about, is let's grab that favorite beverage. Mine is coffee today, and let's get settled in. And before we start, I'm going to take a sip so that I'm ready. While I'm taking a couple sips, go and subscribe to this channel so that you make sure that you are getting all the information that you need to become a momentum maker. We are going to start talking a lot about moms being the momentum maker. So I'm going to start greeting you as the momentum makers because that's what we are building. We are building that calm, that momentum building all in your home. So let's settle in. Make sure you subscribe. Let's take that deep breath in through our nose, hold it at the top, and release. Up to another week of the Summer Survival Series for Overwhelmed Moms. Today, we're going to be talking about summer burnout. And because I know as being a mom, I always thought summers should be for, you know, relaxation, right? And we think we can be outside more, it'll just be more time to relax. And, but for some of us, we are home all day with our kids. And that means because summer is here, your kids are home all day as well. So your routines are gone, but somehow you're working harder than ever. Your schedules are supposed to be lighter. The school alarms are gone. Sports schedules may have even slowed down a little bit. But for moms, a lot of times summer doesn't feel easier. It feels real heavy. And today we're going to talk about that summer mental load nobody talks about and why so many of us end up feeling more exhausted, more overstimulated, and wonder why do we count down the days until school starts again? I know for me, I worked in a school when my kids were younger. So every time I heard mom saying, "Oh, I can't wait till the school starts again," in the back of my mind, yes, I craved that structure. I craved the routines that we had in the school year, but I also dreaded summer ending because that meant I had to go back to work. But now, I have seen, now that I am becoming an empty nester and I have a different routine, I do look for more structure, especially, you know, when I work with so many moms that are talking about this pressure that they have in the summertime. Because we, you know, as part of being a mom, you are so responsible for everything in the summertime and then ends up being more because now you're trying to create more schedules or you want more routine, so you put more things in place for your kids. So welcome to Calm Mom Conversations. And as I said in not too long ago, before right when we started, I'm going to be talking a lot about momentum makers. And so we're going to be looking at, I'm starting to play around with changing the name of this channel. And I'm going to be creating um, like a membership or a group for momentum makers, which is going to be a space for, moms to come gather, get information. Hopefully, the idea is that we will have, um, inside that membership, we will have one call a week where we can all come together and let's have that coffee chat. Maybe some weeks I will have, an actual idea that we're going to talk about, but other weeks I want it to be like open forum where you come with a concern and you bring it to the table and talk about. That is what I am looking into. And if you're new to my channel, I'm Stacy Johnson. I'm a resilience and momentum maker or specialist. I'm going to help you become momentum makers because that's what you all are. You all are momentum makers. And we just have to help you, take consistent daily steps for that momentum to be happening. And so I help overwhelmed moms create calm over chaos, to create that financial freedom that you want so that you can have more time with your families, more time for yourself without spending more time and money to get to that calm space or that space that you're thriving for. So let's dive into our next series of that summer survival series for overwhelmed moms. And today is summer burnout, we're going to talk about. It's the invisible job of summer. Moms, we become the entertainment coordinator the minute summer begins. The minute summer, begins, our kids end school and we become responsible for planning activities, preventing boredom. How many times? Put in the comment. How many times today did you hear your kids say, Mom, I'm bored? That's what we end up doing. We have to manage them being bored. We manage the amount of screen time they're having. I talked to a mom last week and she shared, like, I'm trying to create schedules in place so that we're all not sitting on the couch in front of the screen. You're organizing outings. You're coordinating schedules. You're trying to create memories. I remember when my kids were younger and I was home in the summertime because I worked for a school. And, I would look at the week and be like, okay, the weather looks good these days. So let's go to the pool or the beach these days. These days we're going to, go to the library. Or I would look for, things that were being put on in the, in the neighborhood or, the community of where I could take my kids, planning outings with their friends, or maybe meeting up with people. Those were all the things that I would try to coordinate, so that I did not hear Mom on board. Screens weren't as popular when my kids were younger, but that would have been something that I was trying to prevent too, is so that they didn't lay in bed all day and play on a screen. And things can be so wonderful, managing, having these creating memories, all those things are so wonderful, but they require energy. And the mental load isn't just doing the things, it's constantly thinking about the things, the planning, the scheduling, the anticipating, the decision making. The brain rarely gets a break. And then you add in things that may unexpectedly happen during those times. And your brain has to problem solve dealing with those things. Last week we had a storm in this area and my sump pump went out. So, now my kids are not young anymore and I'm not planning activities, but I still have a schedule that I follow for myself. And the unknown happens. You wake up, electricity goes off, and now my brain starts thinking about, oh geez, how long will the power be off? If it's off too long, the basement will flood. So I go into problem solving mode. I get what I need to do, go down to plug the sump pump into the generator so that we can at least have a flood-free basement. Sump pump doesn't work. That was unexpected. And almost 5 years ago, I became a widow. In fact, today is June 23rd, and I saw it on this morning on a feed that it's National Widow Day. Who knew that I would have a day designated to this status that I have? And 4 years ago, or 4 summers ago, that title, or seeing that title being kind of recognized on a day, would have brought me down into a tizzy. And last week's sump pump would have put me into a downward spiral. But I've been doing a lot of my own inner work, and part of it is using my heart harbor technique. And my heart harbor technique allows me to, is one technique that I teach busy moms so that you can start. That's one of the steps that I take to find my calm. And so the unknown of the sump pump didn't put me into a tizzy. I just problem solved. I didn't worry about if this didn't work, what would happen. What ifs don't exist for my language anymore. I don't use that what if. I identify if it's something I can control and what I can control, and then I work from there. No, I know I'm going on a tangent. We're supposed to be talking about summer stress. But, unknowns happen when we think we're going to be doing something. We have a plan for our kids and the unknown happens, right? And we have to be able to problem solve that. And that decision making takes energy as well. And sometimes the unknowns add financial stress. But that is something that I don't worry about either anymore. And I used to I would worry a lot. You'd have the budget plan for the week, take your kids somewhere, you knew exactly how much money it was going to cost you. And then the unknowns would happen. Something would happen, and maybe you would have to spend more money. But then as the summer goes on and you're spending and making these memories, the anticipation of summer, ending and you having to go school clothes shopping, school supply shopping, pay for school fees, all those things start adding up and you start worrying about the finances again. And that's not something that I worry about because I'm involved in a community where revenue builds behind the scenes for me and it keeps compounding. And if you're interested in that, you can either drop the word revenue in the comments or in the description, there is a link in regards to business building. And you can go to that and spend some time there. It's a free community, and you can watch a few videos that talk a little bit about how we are building this extra revenue. And so those school fees, all those anticipations, all those unknowns don't become one of my stressors anymore. So back to summer burnout. One of the biggest shifts in summer is the loss of uninterrupted time. So we're talking about time freedom as well. But when your kids are off, you hear mom, 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 mom. Even when your children are older, you're still answering questions, solving problems, finding snacks, driving places, and helping manage their emotions. Every interruption requires your brain to switch gears. You might be focused on one thing, Maybe you're doing dishes and your brain is thinking about some things that you know you need to finish that day. And your kids are like, Mom, Mom, all those interruptions require you to switch gears. And over time, that creates mental fatigue. And that's where my heart harbor technique can help with those interruptions of how to help yourself feel that calmness instead of feeling like you're going to explode if you hear mom one more time. Because when we have this mental fatigue from all these interruptions, you may notice increased irritability, difficulty focusing, you feel scattered, maybe forgetfulness, and that emotional exhaustion. These aren't signs you're doing something wrong. There's your brain, your nervous system is trying to let you know that it's overloaded. And again, finding those little moments, where you can create that momentum to not get yourself in that fatigue moment. Let's talk a little bit more about what I know every mom understands. It's the snacks. How is it possible that kids who just ate are already hungry again? Don't you notice that in the summer? You might feed them breakfast and then maybe 10 minutes later, they're like, I'm hungry. So even like the finances we were just talking about, summer often means we're grocery shopping more, we're meal planning more, there's more dishes, more food preparation, more requests. I remember thinking sometimes, when my kids were home in the summertime, I felt like I did dishes all the time. I would either cook, I was always in the kitchen, it felt like, on certain days. And what seems like a small thing becomes dozens of extra decisions every day. And decision fatigue is really real as well. By evening, many moms feel completely depleted from making choices all day long. And I know in the summertime, in the evening is when maybe at least I would want to maybe do something for myself, sit on the porch, take a walk. But you were just so exhausted that all you wanted to do was maybe lay down on the couch. Some of us, we have to balance work and motherhood. So for working moms, summer creates another layer of stress. You're trying to be present at work while also managing your children at home. Or maybe, if they're old enough and they can stay home by themselves, or maybe you've had to, that's where that financial piece comes in, is send them to day camps, which is not, free. And so you're spending money on that. And again, that's where my community can help, because if you're building over time, over a year with this community, the summer day camp cost you wouldn't even feel it in your wallet because it would be taken care of by what you have been receiving all year long through this community. And so you're working, you're answering emails while hearing argument. Maybe you're work from home. And so you're answering emails, but you hear arguments in the background. Or again, maybe you've sent them, off to day camp so then you can work. You're trying to focus during meetings. Again, maybe you're working from home while someone needs to find something. Maybe they're in the kitchen and they're like, where is the mayonnaise? Where's the peanut butter? You know exactly where it is, but you can't stop your meeting to tell them. There's this constant pull between responsibilities, and that creates guilt no matter what you're doing. When you're working, you feel guilty about the kids. When you're with the kids, you feel guilty about work. The emotional tug of war is exhausting. Many of us don't realize that summer can create sensory overload. There's more noise, maybe even more physical touch. There's definitely more demands, more questions, which is that interruptions and the noise. More people need you. And your nervous system never gets a chance to fully rest. It doesn't. And it doesn't reset. And when it doesn't reset, you feel snappy, irritable, emotional, withdrawn, exhausted. You're human. And that is why this happens. And if you are looking to start building that momentum, grab my link to the coffee chat or to my momentum audit. We'll take a moment, kind of look at your day, see where, what your day kind of looks like, do an audit, and see where we can put in those steps to start building that momentum. Because my heart harbor technique that I teach, and I will teach you that in a momentum audit, can start building those one step of building you momentum in your day. But also, I want you to try these other things to reduce the summer mental load. One, stop trying to create the perfect summer. Your kids don't need this, perfect picture, what I would call maybe a Pinterest-worthy memory every day. They need a regulated mom. So connection matters more than that constant entertainment. Build simple anchors into your day. Choose 2 to 3 things that can stay consistent. Examples, maybe you know what time your kids get up in the morning. Maybe you get up 15 minutes earlier and enjoy a cup of coffee on your patio. Maybe you make sure that you get in that evening walk. Simple steps, simple, ways of building momentum help your nervous system feel safe. And create that daily pause. Ask yourself, what actually needs my attention today? Not everything is urgent, and not everything belongs on your shoulders. So if summer feels harder than you expected, you're not alone. The mental load of motherhood doesn't disappear when school ends. In many ways, it increases. Give yourself permission to lower expectations. Create simple routines. And remember that calm doesn't come from doing more. It comes from caring less. And let me know what part of summer feels most overwhelming right now. And remember, come back for next week's Summer Survival for Overwhelmed Moms, where we're going to talk about why moms feel more irritable in the summer. And then also, as I've shared throughout this uh, talk today about stress, moms, summer burnout, you can go to the link of Momentum Audit, and we can kind of talk about what does your day look like. And I will teach you my Heart Harbor technique to help building that momentum. If you're looking at, if you are a mom that is worried about, those finances and you want to build that revenue in the background, and so that you have that safety net of those unexpected costs or the cost of summer, the school setup, startup fees that are going to be happening here in the next 6 weeks. Or maybe you're already an entrepreneur, you are a business owner, and you want to create either more time freedom, or maybe you have that you need to do some identity changing, some shifts in your actual entrepreneurship journey. You can grab the link for my business in the description. The business inquiries, I believe, is what I named it, that link. And you can join the community that I'm involved in, where we're helping, we have different ways of setting up, recurring revenue streams. We also have a lot of free trainings that are available to help you have that right mindset to be a business owner, because being a business owner can be very stressful as well. So you can grab that as well. And again, join me next week and make sure you subscribe so that we can stay together in this community. All right, talk to you later.